Hello, viewers. Well, Team Sonic Racing was released last week. A game we've been waiting for some time. Shown at E3 last year. It's gone through a long development process, and it was held back for various improvements. But finally, the game is with us, and we're going to be taking a look at it in more detail and having a chat about it today. So I'm joined by Kevin.
Hello.
And Tom.
Hello.
And you'll be discussing with me today a bit about Team Sonic Racing. Tom, you are a bit of a Sonic expert. So you've been through a lot of the game now, and you've been through a lot of the previous games as well. So I guess really tell us a bit about the background behind Team Sonic Racing, how we've got to this point, and then a bit about the game, and take us through it so far.
So the series started off as it kind of felt like a cheaper version of Mario Kart when the first one came out. It was still good, but there was definitely a gap between them. Then the sequel came out, and that was more of a general Sega sort of like fanboy dream.
That transformed.
Yeah, the transformed one. Yeah, that one, in my opinion, is as good as Mario Kart 8. I really, really do think that. I know it's maybe a controversial opinion to some people, but they've brought it back to just Sonic characters for this game, which is a little bit disappointing personally, because I'm a big Sega fan. I am a big Sonic fan too, but I like the general sort of Sega-ness of the previous one. But yeah, it's very good. I think it definitely seems like a pared back version of the previous game. But overall, I think it's very, very good.
Why do you think they cut back on all the characters? What do you think you think? It's not just the characters though, is it? I mean, they've cut back on the boats and the planes. Yeah. They've reduced the gameplay. Well, do you think it's that they're going to make Team Sonic Racing transformed next year and suddenly release a big upgrade for it or something? What do you think the process is?
I only have a theory in that they wanted to get a Sonic game out this year, so that they just made it Sonic only, just to make sure they've ticked off that box of a Sonic game coming out this year.
I think the time film as well, of course, coming.
Yeah, of course, yeah. Although there's rumours that they're potentially going to bring a game out based on that film, but that's a rumor at the moment.
So, well, we'll see E3, won't we? I guess maybe that would sort of work because they've got this game out before E3.
Yeah.
I guess people always want a Sonic game to look forward to.
You don't want to compete against each other, do you?
So that way people can be getting into the Sonic brand. First thing I noticed is that it has a great Sonic atmosphere to it. It's colourful, it's got the characters, it's got good music, it's got a good vibe. I like the vibe about it. I think comparing to the transformed Sonic Racing All-Stars, was it? You can see obviously some of the tracks are there, but they've really polished the graphics. There's a lot more effects now. My content was running on the standard PS4, running at 60 frames for the most part. Really nice and polished, but I did, like I say, miss that element where they seem to use the environments more. I wonder if they'll even add that in DLC or whether this is it, the game.
Apparently, they've said that there's no DLC, no plans for it at the moment, at least.
What about the difficulty curve then? Tell us a bit about that and how you found the difficulty curve in the game.
Oh boy, it's hard. So I'd say normal is. I think normal's a bit too easy. I'd say because there's normal, hard, and expert.
Yeah, normal is the easy setting, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't know if you felt that, Kev.
I thought normal was fine. It has to be accessible. It has to be fairly easy. So normal, because it's the easiest setting. There is no easy option. Normal has to be easy, so the masses can progress through the game. So I found it to be okay. Yeah.
Yeah, but then you jump up to hard, and it's ridiculous. And then there's an expert beyond that as well. Yeah. And I think the biggest way to sort of see the difficulty spikes is the mini games. So there's a couple of different mini games, such as there's one where you have to drift around posts, like the star posts, and all of these there's no difficulty level for them. So there's just a platinum level is essentially the expert score, and some of them just feel unobtainable. At least from what I played, I think you just need to put a heck of a lot of practice in, I think, to get those platinums.
Yeah, I was racing a few, got my silvers, may have got the gold, but platinum just seemed to be such an extreme level of perfection. And the big problem with when you're drifting is that it's very hard to understand the perfect line. You throw the car in and sometimes it oversteers or understeers, and you've got a line of rings. It's very difficult. So when you get it sweet, it all works perfectly.
Yeah.
But you said come around the next lap and do that again. I just couldn't. because I just don't understand where that perfect line was. Sometimes I feel like I'm going to the same line, same markings, and it just doesn't do it.
I think that's where the this is sort of a good segue, I guess, where the car customization kind of comes into play, because you want to kind of change the car up for different events.
Right.
I was finding that they don't do a very good job of explaining like how things are affected. So, like for example, boost, the boost sort of spec on the car influences the like length or the power of the boosts you get from drifting around corners or going over the boost pads on the track. And sometimes you want to get like a good balance of those. So, for example, those star post ones, you've kind of got to have some good handling skills, because otherwise, like you say, it's gonna just kind of drift off to the edge of the track. You won't be able to control it as well. But at the same time, you don't want to be too slow, because otherwise you won't be getting between the posts quick enough to get a high enough score. So it's trying to get that balance in some of them.
Something I haven't looked at yet. I mean, I saw the loadout screen, and sometimes when I'm streaming, I think, do you know what? I'll look at that when I'm not streaming. I can really test things out and learn it. When you're streaming, you just want to get straight on with the next race, really, because the audience just mainly want to see racing rather than lots of tinkering in options sometimes. So does it make a radical difference, the loadouts that you can get for your car?
Honestly, it's quite difficult to tell. It really is. I don't know if that's because of like rubber banding or what. I think that the one that I really noticed was the handling definitely felt better the higher it was. How about you, Kev? What did you think?
Yeah, I think by default, Sonic's car is like, if you're not drifting, I think there's a lot of weight to the car, so you tend to understeer a lot unless you're drifting around turns. So when you increase the statistics, obviously you feel the benefit of that. But my first impressions of this game is there's a lot of systems going on. You've got your ring system, you've got the team speed boost, you've got slingshot system, there's power-ups and gifting power-ups. And they probably only explain one or two of these elements early on in the game, so you're largely guessing as to what's going on. So there is a bit of a learning curve there. And of course, with the general difficulty of the game, it can be a little bit tough to get into. So really, you need to spend like an hour or two just to get your head around all these various systems. I found that the power-ups as well, they sort of lacked the character of the old game power-ups. When you see an obvious rocket or other icon, you knew exactly what it was going to do before you've even seen it, like before you've even used it, rather. But with this game, you've got these very odd shaped power-ups, and you're having to learn what each does, and it's very difficult to remember with various ones. So there is that sort of learning curve that may put off a few people at first, but I feel it just lacks the character of the older games. It's just something missing there. The sort of Sega world, doesn't quite portray the character and the colourfulness that it has in previous titles, but it does run a lot smoother, I might add, compared to the old titles, which just ran a little bit poorly on the old systems.
Yeah, I think that I think the thing is that it was ambitious, wasn't it? That's the thing. And I just had a look at the transform version on the PC, and I'm thinking, wow, it actually looks lush. It's not massively different in a way. And of course, years ago, I played it on Xbox 360, or many of you may have played the PS3 version watching, and it was really nice. But obviously, 30 frames per second, it was pushing. The frame rate wasn't always solid, and now you get a nice lush version. But it is amazing when I play it on the PC now. Just, I think in a way, how big the package was on Sonic All-Stars Racing Transformed, and it's like, wow, you've got all these Sega characters, you've got all these cars, you've got all these amazing environments. And when you play the new Sonic, as polished as it is, and it's very polished, it's very nicely done, you can see the content is slightly lacking.
Yeah,
and
it's more towards the original rather than transformed.
Yeah. So I think I noticed myself just coming back to this one, thinking, wow, actually, I want to go back to Transformed now I've got the PC version. Because it really does make a huge difference now, because the PC version is so much better than the console version at the time. I don't think I realised how radically better some of these games were on the PC. So especially now with modern PCs, they can power everything at max. So yeah, I think gameplay-wise, the difficulty curve is weird at times. The challenges are really, really, really tough. I think that there is rubber banding. Sorry.
Yeah, the action varies a lot. So I remember taking part in an expert course, and the first time I played it, I actually won. And I went back to other expert races, and I really struggled. So
yeah,
it's very random, the action, so you never quite know what's going to happen. You can like gift power-ups and such, and you're building up your team boost, which is essential in this game. And of course, drifting round turns obviously is very important as well. But I find that anything can happen in these races, whether that's a good thing or bad thing, is up to how your mind works. But I thought it was interesting. Every race was different, I thought, with this game, so that kept things interesting for me.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, as I say, it's a really nice polished game. It just doesn't have the quality, because we've had some of the same content, similar looking content in the previous game. Again, it's I suppose you want that and more, don't you, in a way?
Is it another game that's testing the waters for the series, I wonder? Because it has been, 2012, I think, Transform.
Yep.
So it's been a long, long time, much like we've discussed with the game.
Yeah, it kind of is a similar situation, isn't it? You wonder how much content is going to be in there, and like you say, whether it's testing for the next gen.
There's a gap in the market as well, I think, on the PS4 and Xbox One specifically, for another kart game. Really wasn't. It's funny, we've got like the Crash one coming out as well, but other than that, there's not really been a huge influx of really, well, there's probably a few, but there's not really any like noteworthy kart races, are there?
No big mascots like Sonic and Crash. So yeah, it's interesting that two come along at once, though, isn't it? A bit like Busted. You wait for so long, but
it's like Blur and Split Second, though, isn't it? That's the same thing.
Right. And they cancelled each other out.
Yeah.
That was the problem at the time. They did a lot of damage to each other because they released at the same time.
Yeah,
and it's a real shame. So I hope. Well, Crash. I don't think Crash and Sonic are going to damage each other in that way. It's very difficult to know what the longevity is. I'll have to look at the online modes. Tell me a bit about the online modes, Tom. Is there any kind of battle modes or any other different modes online apart from just racing?
I mean, it's fairly standard stuff. There's no battle mode like the old sort of Mario Kart style balloon fights or anything like that.
Yeah.
However, I did. You can do team races, casual races, or single races. So you can just play it by yourself. You don't have to race in a team if you don't want to, which I thought was quite interesting. But if you go into the casual modes, you actually get some sort of weird and wonderful game types. So there was like a rocket only race where you all of the pickups are just rockets. So as you can imagine, that was chaos. There's a vampire race. You get there's a power up that kind of like sucks in all power ups and rings and leech from other players. That was kind of interesting. So there's a bit more variety online. I think that's the main thing. I mean, really, the game is primarily a multiplayer game. It's just it happens to have a single player attached to it.
I think online, it has a lot of potential to be really fun because it has that team-based element. So it's very much a case of everyone is working together, I guess, to become victorious. So it has a lot of potential online. Like you say, this is very much a sort of online-focused title in that sense, isn't it? The mechanics they have in the game very much lends itself to multiplayer.
Yeah, unfortunately, I didn't get too many full matches to really, because it's still so new. A lot of people are just doing the story mode, but I mean, that actually sort of brings me on to a different point, actually, which is the actual team mechanics themselves, which I thought were actually really, really interesting and worked quite well. So you have like slipstreams. Your whole team creates a slipstream, and you can use those streams to boost yourself past. But it's like the drifts. There's 3 different levels of boosts you can gather from these, and it's really useful because you want to. It's not really about who finishes first. Almost, it's just how your team places.
Yeah.
So you could come second, but as long as your team come like second, fourth, and say like 7th, and the other guy's team like was lower than that, then you're going to win overall on points. So that was kind of cool. I'm not sure if I like the special ability or not. I don't know how you felt about it. It felt like just almost like a cheat button.
It's very overpowered, the team boost, isn't it?
Yeah,
race deciding if you do it at the end.
Yeah,
it just blow past you just like that. So everybody saves it up basically.
Well, yeah,
to use on the last corner.
It essentially became it's an essential thing. You have to save it because you have to save it for a certain point in the race.
I'm not sure if I've ever triggered 2 in a single race, but I know you can. If you gift your power up, you do get a little boost to the bar that builds that team boost.
Yeah, that's the best way to boost it. You want to do that, but also giving the weapons to other teammates gives a stronger version of that weapon as well.
Yeah, that's right. And some of them are only attainable by gifting, aren't they? So
Yeah, which I also thought was really interesting as well.
there's a lot of systems, isn't there? But like I say, it's quite hard at first because you're
Yeah.
only introduced probably to 2 or 3 of these via tutorials, and the rest you're sort of left to on your own devices. Like, we're still not entirely sure what the rings do, so you know.
Yeah, the only thing we know for sure is that it gives you more credits at the end to buy loot boxes. I know it's not actual loot boxes, but you know the mod boxes.
Pods, they call them, yeah.
That's it.
And there's sort of random gifts for different vehicles. So if you're playing for a Sonic, like most people will, you probably primarily get Sonic stuff, but you also get other characters' stuff as well. So it's sort of a bit of a lottery in that sense. But you know, you certainly do need these mod pods if you're going to take on the game in the hardest 2 settings. Normal, you can probably blow through without, which I've been doing so far. I'm not sure how tough it gets later on, but I think for a hard and expert settings, you're really going to have to make use of those mod pods.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah, so I mean, obviously, there's some interesting elements in there. I don't know if that makes up for the fact that there's so few characters, tracks, and modes, and I don't think it does in some respects. But I think because I think with more environments, there's always more you can do in terms of strategy. I think this overall team boosting is a little bit concerning. I think online races might see a lot of last-minute boosts, and that's all anybody does, and that kind of messes up the strategy of racing because there's not much you can bring to it other than just save your boost and do what you can.
Like a push to pass, isn't it?
Yeah, right at the end of the race. So it's a bit like we've all done it on like on Mario Kart. You know, you'd get your star, you know, and then suddenly you do it on the final lap or something and overtake everybody and win, or you'd save it in case anything happens to you. So
it's part of the strategy, though, isn't it? Really,
it is. It's part of strategy, and you know, like you say, depending on where you are in the race at the time, whether you need to use it or not. So, yeah, I think. Final roundup, then you're going to be putting your review together, Tom. Let us know a bit about it. I'll just say, actually, from my perspective, I've enjoyed what I've played. I think it's very polished. It's nice to look at. It's good fun. It's something much more relaxing than Gran Turismo. And I've enjoyed it so far. And it puts me into the Sonic mood, Sonic vibe. And I'm not going to sing right now.
Oh.
But you never know. Okay, and yeah, so your final thoughts on the game, Kevin?
Yeah, it wasn't as fast paced as I was expecting, actually. So it's not quite up to the speed of the earlier titles, which was initially disappointing. But because there's so many systems there, it does make things interesting. But there is that learning curve, as I said, to really get your head around it. But you know, visually, I think it looks very clear, very crisp. But having said that, I don't feel it lives up to the sort of premium feel of Mario Kart titles. The visuals don't quite pop in the same way. It doesn't quite have that magic, but you know, it's still very decent to look at. Yeah, just got to get myself through the game. I've played the early parts, so I've still got a long way to go. But so far, I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying all the various systems. I just wish the power-ups were a little bit more obvious rather than me having to learn which each one does all the time and sort of keeping track of that. But overall, I think it's a solid effort. Not particularly great, but a good, solid effort. And hopefully we'll see some more of these Sonic games, karting games, for next gen, because this is the first one on this generation. It's just far too long in between games, so hopefully we'll see some more All-Stars racing for next gen.
Yeah, and Tom, your final thoughts?
So I kind of want to say that although this has sounded a bit negative, I actually really enjoyed the game. There's also a big point to make, is that this is a much cheaper release than the most standard releases. So it's launching for about £30 or so, rather than 50. And I think for that price, it is absolutely worth every penny for what you're paying, especially if you're a Sonic fan. Because although there is less choice, you know, because we've only got Sonic characters, I think Sonic fans especially will be very happy with this game. Personally, though, I kind of wish they'd smashed Transformed and this together to create kind of like an ultimate hybrid. So I would have taken like some of the ideas of the team modes and put them in Transformed. And I would have taken the Transforms track design and put it in this game, because although the track design on Transformed is amazing, in this it's pretty good for the most part, but the some of the courses are really bland, especially the unfortunately the last course, the Eggman sort of land one, was really dull in comparison to some of the earlier levels where you're getting like loop-the-loops and stuff, and it was just very flat. But so yeah, overall it's not quite as good as Transformed for me, but it's still very good.
Okay, and I think that covers it then. So, chaps, thanks for your chat today. Team Sonic Racing, then, it's been an interesting journey seeing it come together, and it's been a strange one as well. But in terms of you've had all this work put into the polish, but yet in terms of the content, it's not there in comparison to the Transformed many years ago. So, which actually had quite similar graphics and stages. I don't really see there's massive changes been made, but obviously a developer would probably have a go at me for saying that, because we'd say, well, we completely redone everything. But either way, it's not a bad game. I look forward to seeing your review, Tom, on the website in the coming days. And that's it for now, viewers. Do let us know your thoughts in the comments, what you've thought of it so far, what aspects you would improve, or what aspects you've been really pleased about as well. Do let us know. And that's it. And do like and subscribe as ever. It supports what we do. And that's it from me and from the guys for now. Thanks for watching today. And there'll be more from us very soon.